Hello.
Hello. We'll give it a few moments as people are joining. It looks like all of you already are on mute, so you've done Zoom. I think we've gotten used to this now with COVID.
We've got another beautiful evening tonight.
Gorgeous tonight.
Yes. Hi, Cornelia.
Hi, Julie.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Erin.
How you doing, Cornelia?
I'm doing okay. Tired. I got a lot of teaching today.
Well, yeah, I know what you're saying because I'm pretty beat myself.
We're retired. We're not supposed to feel like this.
No,
Hi, Mary. I'm going to mute myself, so.
You are?
There I am. Hey, Cornelia, can you hear me? Hey, Julie.
Hi, Susie. Hi, Mary, Jill, Wayne, Richards,
Susie.
Erin, Cornelia.
I have Allison with me too. My friend Allison is here.
Hi, Allison. Oh, that's Allison's iPad. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, this-
Allison's iPad. Because I had dinner her Allison's. Allison's my friend from New Zealand.
Oh, right. Great. And hi, Diane. And
Hi. Hi, Julie.
hi, Jill and Kathleen, Klaus,
Hi.
Jeff.
What do you want to do?
I want to make it so I can see all of it.
I don't know how to do that.
What are you laughing at?
I'm laughing at
This. There we go.
There you go.
There we go. Hi, Brian.
Hello, hello.
Who's this down
Okay.
here?
That's Wayne and Al Steiger. Let's see.
Hi, Wayne. I have never seen you before, but I've heard a lot about you.
You know, Cornelia, I would like your recipe for that plum jam because I saw that picture of your tree and I just went, oh my gosh, that would be so nice.
Hi, Al.
You know, whoever wants plums, let me know. I'll set them out on Friday. That tree is so full.
On a minute. Hey there.
Hello, Representative Neron.
Good to see you. Hi, Missy.
Aaron Woods is going to be helping to host this again. I'm glad he has time for it because he's got so many books to read in his library.
Everybody comments on that. Yeah, I'm an avid reader.
I have to say, Julie, he read those already.
Oh, he already read them, right? Okay, that's why they're all on the shelf. You finished them.
Yeah, most of
All in his head now.
them.
Maybe give it a couple more minutes as people are still joining, it looks like.
Sure. Mayor Knapp, hello.
Hi there, how are you?
Fine, thank you. Thanks for joining us.
You
And
betcha.
Kate and Jerry Greenfield, Mary Clausen, Kimberly Lamb, Kathy Kubik, thanks for joining. Tanya?
No. It doesn't matter. So, Brian,
Yeah.
how do we see more people than this, or can I only see 9?
So in the upper right-hand corner, it should say speaker view, or it might say gallery view. If you
I'm not seeing that.
be able to rotate between the two. You're only seeing 9?
Yes.
I think
Maybe-
on iPads it's slightly different. For the computer
might
that
be.
I'm on, I have what Brian is talking about, but I know when I talk to my parents through Zoom, they have the same challenge of changing view.
There's actually 25 on.
Okay. Okay, wait, show my video in gallery view.
And that number is shown at the bottom of the little,
Right, participants.
mhm.
Yeah, so it might just be an iPad issue, or not issue, but an iPad feature that it's only 9.
Okay,
Could rotate through whoever's speaking so that they'll at least be on your screen.
okay, thanks, Brian.
Ockerville is here.
So we have 25. How many people are in?
We now have 27.
27.
Joining.
Fantastic.
Maybe we'll give it another minute or two.
Okay. I sent out notices this afternoon via text and email to, I don't know, about 30 people, but it was 4 hours, so.
Well, it is a really nice evening. I appreciate everybody taking time for this, and people can still join after we start, can they, Brian? Okay.
That's correct. Yeah. And we are up to 28 now.
Sweet.
Okay, would you like to get started now, Julie, or?
Sure.
Okay, great. Well, good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the second virtual town hall meeting for Julie Fitzgerald, candidate for mayor, city of Wilsonville. My name is Aaron Woods, and I will be your moderator this evening, along with my good friend, Brian Everett, who will be our facilitator tonight. We'll have Brian introduce himself in just a minute, though. For those of you who don't know me, I and my wife Shirley have lived in Wilsonville for the last 24 years in Wilsonville Meadows. I've been pretty active in city affairs during this time, serving 2 terms on the Development Review Board B, and I'm currently on the Planning Commission. I'm extremely happy to be volunteering with Julie's campaign this summer. I've known Julie since she was on the city council, and I was on the Development Review Board at that time. We would have, of course, preferred to have this town hall in person, but as all of you know, in light of the COVID epidemic, this Zoom venue, we are all starting to, I guess, get comfortable with it and live with it. But it is the safest way for Julie to engage with everyone. So before we get started, I'd like to make everyone aware that this town hall is being recorded. This will allow Julie and her team to listen to all of the questions and comments made and potentially post them for those who cannot attend tonight. I'd also like to ask everyone to please mute yourself. This will ensure that we don't have background noise that could be disruptive to our town hall meeting. So Brian, why don't you take a minute and introduce yourself to everyone?
Thanks, Aaron. Hello, everyone. My name is Brian Everest, and I've lived in Wilsonville for 3.5 years. I spent 25 years in the housing industry, a decade in day-to-day management of apartment communities throughout the Northwest, and 15 years working for investors specializing in low-income housing tax credit program, workforce housing development, as well as mixed-use development. I'm excited also to be volunteering to help get Julie elected as our next mayor. I knew from my initial conversation with Julie that she's interested in and aware of different types of housing that our community needs both today as well as in the future. My role for today is simply to track the questions that you might have during the call. If you have questions, utilize the chat feature on Zoom and I'll capture them and make sure that Julie has the opportunity to answer them. If she's not able to get to all of the questions today, we'll make sure that they are answered either on a later call or we'll reach out to you directly to make sure that you get those questions answered. I have compiled and we've noted some of the most common questions that Julie has received from residents and neighbors via the phone or social media, and while Julie has been out and about meeting with other residents. So we'll of course cover those questions first, Aaron will, and then we can turn to the questions that you might have today via the chat. With that said, I'll hand it over to Julie to open the conversation.
Thank you, Brian
Why
and
it's so
Aaron.
tiny. I mean, so
Well, before we
Hard to hear.
start, I wanted to introduce a couple of our elected officials, or at least we have a couple of elected officials here and also some candidates. And first of all, I'd like to introduce Representative Courtney Neron, who is our wonderful representative, lives here in Wilsonville. And Courtney, you're running for office. I know you must be very busy. You have such a huge district. How's it going?
Thanks. Yeah, it is a pretty big district. We go all the way from here to Hillsborough, so including Sherwood and King City and parts of Tigard, Tualatin, Newburgh, Shoals, Aloha, and Beaverton. So yeah, I can only stay a little bit, but I'm really excited to be here for the time that I can. So thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you so much. And I'd also like to introduce Mayor Tim Knapp, who's on the call. Thank you for joining us.
You bet. Thanks for having me, and thanks for the work you're doing and all of your team on this. Definitely want everyone to know that I think Julie Fitzgerald is the person who needs to be mayor of Wilsonville, along with a team including Councilor Kristen Ackervall, who is my council president at the moment, and Councilor Joanna Linville, who is also running for her on Wilsonville Council.
Well, thank you, Mayor Knapp. And so you helped me out with introducing Council President Kristen Ackervall, and I know you're busy with your campaign too.
Okay.
How's it going?
Yeah, it feels like every night is a busy night, I think, for all of us in the month of September, probably October, and heading forward from there. But I'm really happy to be able to take some time and join this conversation this evening. I appreciate that you are opening up and allowing for some dialogue and people to get to know you and your views. And as I have gotten to know you over the last several years, I really appreciate your skills and your vision and your care. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you. And I want to say, if anybody, I'm going to introduce Councilor Joanne Linville next. And I want to say about both Councilor Ackervall, Council President Ackervall, and Councilor Linville, they do a wonderful job. And I really recommend watching their work on the City Council's page as they work with also Mayor Knapp here. Please, Joanne, welcome.
Thank you, Julie. What a wonderful evening you picked to have your town hall. So I'm delighted to be here. I'm actually outside with my little friend and housemate, Chloe, and we're on our way to walk. So we're going to walk with you while you do your town hall. And I echo the comments made by our mayor and Councilor Ackervall. I think you're our candidate for mayor as well, and I am delighted to be included with you as one of your partners. So very best wishes tonight, and enjoy your time, and hope to see you soon.
All right, thank you. Congratulations to both of you. And thank you also, Representative Neron, for joining us. I know you have another meeting tonight, so thank you. So I think we're back to you, Aaron.
Okay, great. Well, I just want to say thank you to all of the our council people, and certainly to our Representative Neron. We all support all of you, and thank you very much for coming on tonight. So this evening, we want to focus our questions in the area of city development. We've had several questions that were gathered from Julie's Facebook page, and we've assembled them, I should say they were assembled by her volunteers. There were several that were, or a number of them, I should say, that were similar questions, and so we grouped them together. One question, though, that continues to be asked, Julie, is what makes you qualified to take on the job of mayor of Wilsonville?
Well, I am glad to answer that, and I will say that it's certainly a humbling task and a big task. And I'm endeavoring to do this because I just love Wilsonville, and I've been an involved citizen since I moved here in 2007. And I want to really help guide and protect our city. It's the place I call home, and I'm proud to have this be the place I live, and I hope you all are too. Now, I think my work experience really helps qualify me for this kind of position, as well as the fact that I did serve on the city council for 4 years. I started at the very end of 2012 and went through 2016, and that was an exceptional learning experience. I've had a long career, 30 years plus. I seem to not count it past that. I like the number 30. And I have been really had many years managing multi-million-dollar budgets and doing campaigns, advancing conservation, education, and healthcare. I have senior management experience as well that I think will help me in this position with the Oregon Zoo Foundation, with the Nature Conservancy. I ran the fundraising program for Oregon, working on local and global projects. And I was a senior leader at the Oregon Health and Science University Foundation for many years. So it's given me, some really great opportunities to help build positive change. And I'm enthused about working on behalf of our city's future. It would just be a great honor. And I had one other thought that I think is important for being a mayor. And I think that is, you really have to be interested in the people of the city and the city itself. And in addition to being visionary, I think it's very important to be fair and practical. You've got to be interested in how the budgets work. We're really taking care of the assets of the taxpayers. The city has streets, obviously, sewers, sidewalks. We spend so much time on those 4 years I was on the city council. It's a big part of what you do, and making sure that we have the assets and reserves and finances to take care of those assets. Right now, I will thank Mayor Knapp and the other councilors for having, and we have Alan Steiger here, who is a former chair of the Budget Committee. And we really have our leaders to thank for the fact that we have a very high bond rating for the city of Wilsonville. So that is a tremendous bar to set. And I will say we're coming into a difficult period, possibly in our economy. And so it's more important than ever to be able to have the interest and dedication to pay attention to all those things.
Great. Well, certainly, you certainly have the background and certainly the experience. So I think that question has been answered very well. So let's move on then. When we look at our list here, one of the next items that we have is around city projects. There are currently over 30 city projects that are in various stages, such as design. They either have been approved or under construction. For those of you who don't know, you can find these projects under the City Projects tab on the city's main webpage. There you'll see projects that are grouped by category of capital, land use, or private project. So, Joanne, can you share with everyone, which developments are currently a priority, you believe, for the city?
Yes, that was a great question that somebody gave us. And I thought, well, it's probably a different priority for each person, because you can see our city is extremely busy right now. And there's so much going on. And I'm not joking about this when I say that some people would tell you the most important priority is a little way down the road, down the list here, Dutch Brothers Coffee. I mean, we've got to have our coffee, right? So that's an example. If people ask you, gosh, what's going on in the city? What are they building over there? I think it's great to recommend that they look at this list, and then you can click on that and find out all about that project. But moving on to other ones, there is one that somebody asked me about just last week. So there's the Dutch Brothers, and citizens can get in there and look at that one. So that's really great that we're having that involvement. Somebody asked me last week, what is this big digging they're doing down at Memorial Park? They are working on a Memorial Park, a pump station down there, which is sounding a little less exciting than a coffee business, but it's very important to our city function and our infrastructure. And that is, as you can see, it's funded by the Sewer Operating Fund and SDCs. It's time to upgrade that pump station and move it to a place that's safer for it, out of a flood zone, and upgrade some of the functioning of that. But then back to the list that Brian showed there, we've got a lot of land use developments, and so I just don't know how to say which is the most important one of those. There are some small housing developments and some big housing developments. I was going to call out one that I thought was one of the most interesting, and it's down at the bottom. It's the Willamette Water Supply System Raw Water Facility. And we don't have enough time to talk about this project tonight, but if you have an evening where you want to really read up on something, go to a website that is www.ourreliablewater.org, and that will describe the Willamette Water Supply Program, which is being done by some neighboring cities, Tualatin Valley Water District, including Tualatin Valley Water District, Hillsborough, and Beaverton, and they are acting on some long-standing agreements and opportunities to develop their water supply, and it's going to be 30 miles of water pipeline from the Willamette River to Hillsborough, Beaverton, and as I said, these 2 additional Tualatin Valley Water District service areas. And it will provide, you can read about this on the website. It will provide Wilsonville with several long-term benefits. And that includes more than $17 million in ground lease payments over time, as well as seismic retrofitting and improvements to the water treatment plant and an adjacent park, including a new overlook, an upgraded trail, lighting, and other additions. So you'll see a lot more about that. I don't know, Mayor Knapp, if you'd like to add a comment to that. It's going to be a long-term project.
Yes, it is. And we've already been working on it for a long time. The group that's working on it is building their own water treatment plant up in the area between Sherwood and Wilsonville and Tualatin. And so they're shipping raw river water from here to the new plant, and then they'll be shipping finished water from there on up to their communities to use it. Wilsonville has collaborated. We'll be using the same intake system that we are using currently. But there are several major advantages that we were able to negotiate over the period of developing this plan. I think one of the most critical ones is that we have negotiated for Wilsonville to be the lead operator of our own freshwater plant in perpetuity. Whereas prior to this negotiation, there was a clause that whoever bought the biggest volume of water would be the operator. And we felt that it was critical that we maintain that for our citizens in terms of local control. So along with the some $17 million in lease payments over time that have been negotiated, we were able to secure the future of our own operations for our own city. I think that that's a big win.
I do too. That has been a long-term project, and we discussed it at length when I was on the council, and they continued with it. So I'm really glad about that. So so those are just, as I said, I don't think I could say which is the highest priority project because they're all getting a lot of priority right now. And we could discuss any particular one of them later if somebody wants to. Thanks, Aaron.
Okay, thank you. As everyone can see, we've got a lot going on in our city, a lot of good things. And with all of these projects that we have before us, I think we would all agree it's nothing but goodness for the city of Wilsonville. So Julie, I want to shift gears here a little bit and let's talk about our communities. How would you like to ensure that the different areas of Wilsonville stay connected as a community? And what I mean by that, you know, Villebois, Charbonneau, Town Square, and Frog Pond. How would you ensure that all of these communities become, I don't want to say cohesive, but, you know, stay connected?
Sure, that's in the question that we received was, how would I ensure that they would stay connected? Well, there's the physical way that I wanted to talk about. I think that's the main gist of the question, and also really the communication method. And I just wanted to mention that I am really interested in taking the level of outreach that the city has been working on. Our city manager has been really good at publishing notices and having town halls and websites and all kinds of different ways of getting the word out. But I do think we can still work to do even more with something along the lines of some periodic informal neighborhood town halls that could involve, you know, go from neighborhood to neighborhood so we could expand the number of people who have practice working with the city and dialoguing so that we can hear from them as we plan. But in terms of the physical connections, you know, some of our neighborhoods are pretty easy that we all live in different neighborhoods and use the trails. A lot of us, I see a lot of you walking all the time. Here in Villebois, we've got kind of wooded trails that connect neighborhoods and meadows, Landover, Courtside. There are trails and pathways and even short bicycle bridges connecting different places around town. And, you know, so I really want that to continue as we plan and as the city grows to make sure that we have bicycle and pedestrian access as well as well-planned streets so that we can move through our city. But probably the biggest challenge that we have that we are all very familiar with is that we're bisected by the interstate freeway and the Willamette River. And so citizens have brought this up many, many times over the years, and their interest in addressing these big divisions, physical divisions, have manifested in master planning efforts and community open houses, and probably also the surveys that we just had the Boones Ferry Messenger come out today that talks about the citizen survey. So these kind of things have come up over time. And so where we are right now, after several years of various interactions with citizens, is we have a lot of work being done on what we call the French Prairie Bridge, which is the solution to the lack of connection between our north and south neighborhoods. And then the other one that has received a lot of publicity just recently because they've had some open houses is the I-5 biped bridge. And that would lead from near the West Station generally to what we're talking about, the town center development. And I would say, you know, in asking some questions and having a conversation about this with some people recently, you know, we've got the design, we've got the plan, we have the citizen interest, we even have money for the design from some grants that the city received. We certainly don't have the money yet to build these bridges. And so that brings me to, you know, let's talk about the town center bridge first and then go to the French Prairie Bridge. And Brian has a picture of it here, some pictures. And so this is what you call vision. I think back many years ago when the city of Hillsborough started talking about where would they get water in future years, they had a big goal in mind, and now that is going to come to fruition for them in the next few years. And so this is the idea that has been developed over many years in Wilsonville. And if any of you attended the recent open house, they showed various designs for this bridge and received a lot of citizen input. And there is a grant in place right now to fund the design of that bridge. And then it would be a matter of being in the right place at the right time, keeping their ears open and showing the excellent preparation to compete for grant funding and other sources that would be possibly put together to fund this bridge. But it has many different benefits, I think. It would boost the attraction of businesses at town center because it would be so much easier to get to it. It would give us alternate transportation modes to relieve some of our traffic. And this was also, I think it would also help with tourism and other, quality of life around our city. So this is really the idea that has evolved over years for our city, for the East-West.
Okay.
And then go ahead. Does anybody have any questions on this? We might move to the Boone, just talk a little bit about the French Prairie Bridge, and that is on a much different scale of cost and planning than the I-5 bridge. It has a number of different attributes, many of which would be safety. And I encourage you to look up the details on this one as well. But having a bridge that would be situated between the Boone Bridge and the railroad bridge there would provide an alternative route for emergency services. If there were an earthquake or other, disaster, the earthquake is a thing we talk about really more than anything, and a route for secondary and responders to clear accidents if things like that happen. But so that's a really important part of it. It also would allow pedestrian and bike transportation back and forth across the river. And one of the most exciting things about that one is it allows for connection to 1,000 miles of regional multi-use trails in this 3-county area. There is as you might know, a 134-mile Willamette Valley Scenic Bikeway. And when we had the Tourism Task Force, when they began meeting several years ago, this was one of the main things that they brought up that could capitalize on the really unique strengths of Wilsonville, near the wine country with our beautiful farmland just south of the river. And, any of us who've had the luxury of traveling to other states and other countries that have really great bike trails, the Citizens Tourism Task Force really identified the bounty that could come to our area if we could open up that level of travel and have people come in to use our hotels and restaurants. And we also would have access to ride our bikes into the wine country. I actually have tried riding my bike across that. I did, and I only did it once. Won't do it again.
Julie, we did have a question from David Swartwood. David?
Yes.
Yeah, so I have kind of two questions. One of them has to do with the bridge. One of them was from earlier. One of the master plans that we had was around the Villebois area and finishing up where Tews and Graham's Ferry comes together, that corner over there. They put in a light.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at the master plan, it's a roundabout. And there's 2 roundabouts before that too. And there's no traceability that I can see from citizen side to say, where did the change come from? Like, there's no easy way to say, okay, so this is the list of changes that were made that I can see on any of the master plans as they're getting developed. Is that something that's in the works, or was that just a fluke of that plan?
I might have missed a little bit of the audio of what you said. David, did you say there was a light there?
Yes, where Graham's and Tews meet.
Well, you gave me a really tough question. I will have to look that up.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily specifically about that. It's just the idea that something got changed from the master plan. and there's no real
On
way
the
to see is it-
transportation master plan. Well, let me, that's a really good one to find out about. And so the question is, what is the procedure and how does something like that get changed? So I'd like to, I have a memory of that, but not enough to be able to answer it accurately. So let me get back to you.
And there is some comments, discussion that have been posted in the chat as well. So at one point there was a school originally planned at that site.
Yes.
I think over time things have changed, but I think your original question is how do you track when things have changed? And Julie, the question I guess would be, you know, how do you want to make sure that things are transparent and that citizens have access to that information?
Right. Right. That's a good point. Now that I was on board when we had the school change, and what caused a lot of change in that original plan to site the school was really the economic downturn, and that we were not building houses. The housing development was so slow because of the crash that the amount of infrastructure to site the school there, if I'm describing this right, Mayor Knapp, I have a good tracker here to listen to me. But we ended up, the city found a way to make it work by swapping some land and moving that school to where it would be closer to development at the time. But David, if your question is, you know, it sounds like there should be an easier way of tracking when there was a change from the master plan to what was developed, and I think that's a good idea. So let me ask about that and get back to you.
Okay. And then I just had one more question about kind of the tourism and the bridge. Can you hear me okay?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
If we do you know, you're talking about the bridge over the river to master plan and everything, there's really there's no developed riverfront really in Wilsonville. And I know we own the park, like the city owns the park right there. I'm not sure who owns the land across the river, but is there a plan to maybe commercialize that area just a little bit so that we do bring in the tourism for, you know, say riverside restaurants or something? It's just not something you see very much in the whole Portland area even, right? Even downtown Portland has very few restaurants actually on the river. I think Oregon City is looking at developing kind of a riverfront a little bit. Is our tourism group looking at anything like that?
I know that is really interesting that even all along the Willamette River, oftentimes it wasn't seen in that way, and cities didn't develop facing the river, but the city did buy some more land right along the river there a few years ago. And if you look at the Parks Master Plan, you can see some of the development planned in a recreation and trail aspect along that area. I don't believe we have taken, we have sketched out real commercial development along there yet that I know of, but that's an idea that could be certainly discussed.
Thanks.
Okay.
So Brian, have we got any more questions from the chat group?
I have one comment from Wayne Richards. Wayne, did you want to make a comment?
Yes, I would. I love living in Wilsonville. I live in Charbonneau. I'm the Civic Affairs Chair out there. And all that I'm saying is that, very brief statement, is that the quality of life in Wilsonville now is unbelievably cool. I've lived in a lot of states. I went to 9 different schools when I was growing up in grade school. I've lived in Texas, I've lived in New Mexico, I've lived everywhere. And this is home for me forever. And I believe that Julie is the absolute best choice to keep what's been going on for the last 12 years. AAA rating on bonds, best transportation system, alternative transportation system, best water treatment, best planning, best budget, best staff. And that's a $1 billion corporation. And this is the best CEO that you could possibly get to keep our quality of life and our property values intact. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Wayne. That's very nice. And you reminded me of one other thing that I wanted to, that I thought of when related to David's question about even thinking about further plans, like your vision for commercial development down there, some restaurants or something. A couple of other people have mentioned that to me. One of the attributes that I've heard just used among the planning staff, and also Erin, you've been on the Development Review Board and the Planning Commission, is this term of having projects that are shovel ready. And so when funding comes available, I think, and this goes back many years here, I think the city has found success at planning things out, finding visions, finding things that people are behind, getting some funding ready for it, so that when a grant or funding opportunity comes available, they have the design ready, they have the matching funds. And some of those, the successes that we've had have come because of being shovel ready. And sometimes it takes quite a while to get those going. I know our friend Al really wants to get that French Prairie Bridge going. And I hope we can get it done while he's still riding his bike a lot, but it takes a while. So thank you.
You know, just a comment, both as a resident, of course, and being on the Planning Commission, Wilsonville is a very innovative city. And I use that, I don't use that word lightly. I've traveled across the US and Canada. I look at towns that I go in, and much like Wayne just said, he almost took the words right out of my mouth. I've been here 24 years, and I've seen the development from where we've come to where we are now. And with the forward momentum that we have, and thanks to our great counselors, our mayor, keeping this going is extremely important, I think, to all Wilson residents. So the things that Julie is looking to do and looking to continue with the city councilors is in the right direction. So all I can say in just in continuing this is that I think everyone on the phone who may not have had a chance to really talk to Julie one-on-one, I ask you to do that. Take a few minutes. She's very approachable. That's one of the things I like about Julie is she's very approachable, and this is real important, she listens. As I think many of us know.
Well, thank you, Erin.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I just noticed a couple of other questions over here, Brian.
Yep. Yeah, you have a couple of questions that came from Mimi Burns. Mimi, do we have time for more questions, Julie?
We were going to go till 6:45, so I think we can do this.
Or 7:45, yep.
Yeah.
Or excuse me, 7:45. So she said she has a question about police and crime. She's had mailbox break-ins, car break-ins by her condo, and that has been increasing. And then you said, I'm just kind of scrolling down here so it doesn't go too fast. Can you see the rest of that, Brian? Because it's
yeah, so that
too
was
fast.
the first question. And then her second question is regarding concerns about housing for those who can't afford to buy homes or condos here and who can't really afford the rental rates either. So two totally different questions, but I don't want to try and address them.
Okay, well, let's take a couple of minutes on that. I mean, I did actually just have a cup of coffee with actually, we got there so late we didn't have coffee, but we tried. But with the police chief, and I just wanted to refresh myself on how things are going. And I know there was a recent report that you can see on the city council page, Mimi, which we could send you the link to, where the chief gave reports from this year to last year. And sorry that you've had car break-ins. I find that, I mean, I talked to him about that. They really try to stay on that. And it sounds to me like they are, you know, they need to continue to have the resources that they do. And you know, they still have the bike patrols. Those are good. And I can't give you an answer on that, but community policing, except for saying that community policing is really important, and he told me that their work is improved the more that they hear from citizens. So they do want to hear about all those things so that they can put things together and find out if there's a certain small group of people who are doing certain crimes. And they recently had some success in actually finding one group, and I think slowing one of those aspects down. And then around the housing, there's actually, this is brought up in the Boones Ferry Messenger that just came out, and I've spent a lot of time reading the Equitable Housing Strategic Plan that was just adopted unanimously by the entire City Council. And it's also strengthened, our work to add more affordable housing is strengthened by House Bill 2001 that was passed last year, that mandates that all of our neighboring cities around here as well will be asked to add middle housing to their opportunities for housing. And so I hope that in the region and in Wilsonville, we have some more opportunities for people to afford housing. And I'm really interested in in working on that plan. The strategic plan gave several different options of how this could be done. It's various financial mechanisms, and they list out the challenge is to determine ways of doing that within 2 years. But I think it would be wonderful to have opportunities for people to buy homes now that can't do it right now because they're just out of reach. And also just in our future development, some really creative ways of possibly doing some cottage homes and some condo or some townhomes and smaller homes that become more within reach for people. And the town center development is one to watch too. That had some housing built into it, which I think does a lot of what we need there. So I hope that answers your question.
And then we also received a question from Jeff that asked if you could provide any examples of decisions that City Council has made over the last 4 years that you disagree with or would have made differently.
Oh, during the last 4 years. That's a good question. I don't have an answer to that right off the tip of my tongue, but I will look for that. I said before that during the prior 4 years, I wish that we would have built in some opportunities for some little bit smaller lots and some less expensive houses in Frog Pond West. And we weren't able to do that 4 years ago, but it looks like House Bill 2001 may make some of that possible. So I'll look for that answer, Jeff. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll make sure we note that question so that we can follow up on it on future town halls too.
Good point. Real good point. Well, it looks like we've got 2 minutes left here in the allotted 45 minutes. One last question, you, Brian. Did we have any other questions?
The only other question, or was really more of a comment, is regarding development activities in surrounding areas, such as the Aurora Airport, making sure that Wilsonville officials are able to provide input into that, specifically because it's not just in this scenario airport
Right.
noise, but also traffic and other demands on Wilsonville's infrastructure.
Right. It's a really important one, and it comes back to a huge issue that we didn't list on this call as a topic, but it relates to all developments, and that is traffic. And one of our biggest problems for traffic is I-5. Saw it again yesterday, backed way up. We've got the Boone Bridge, which Representative Neron has helped us get some funding to do the design for that, but it's going to be a big lift to get the federal funding to change that. And it's going to take a while. So it's important to really stay on top of what is happening north and south of Wilsonville that might make our I-5 traffic even worse. And I know things that have been solved in the past. As an example, there was a Newburgh bypass proposed a few years ago that would have poured a lot of extra traffic right into our area that seemed like a solution to one city, but it would have been a detriment to Wilsonville. And so our city council was able to really work on that and get an adjustment that slowed that down. Now, south of the river, they're the airport looks like is going to be expanding. And I think it's important that, because that is so close, adjacent to Wilsonville, that Wilsonville has a seat at the table. I think that to hear about plans, to voice concerns, and to interject what we can on behalf of our citizens to manage these developments for the betterment and to keep our citizens as well served as possible. So I think the solution there is to stay involved and make sure we have a seat at the table in all matters that we can regarding I-5, whether it's north, south, or in communities around us. And many times we can collaborate with those cities for funding to make improvements to roads. So it's just a matter of staying involved and doing the best we can with the resources at hand to manage this.
Great. Okay, well, that brings us to the close of this second great town hall meeting here. I just want to, I have a few closing comments before I turn it over to you, Julie, to take us home. One of the things that I said about Julie earlier is that she really listens. She's interested in all the people of Wilsonville and what they have to say. She needs your support, though, as well. You can find more information on Julie if you haven't already been to her site at juliefitzgeraldformayor.com. You'll also find out how you can volunteer to help her with her campaign, as well as make a donation to help. There's a donation button right smack dab in the middle of her page. So Julie, why don't you take us home?
Well, I just want to thank everybody. This is a really big lift, as everybody who's either run for office or helped people run for office knows, and I really appreciate it. We have a lot of volunteers. It's pretty fun working with them, very fun actually. And we're going to actually be doing some work together in the next week or so with door hangers. So if you want to have a fun time walking around, give us a call. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining, and we'll look at these questions and get back to you on any that we didn't. Thanks a
And I'll
lot.
just add that Joanne Linville, Councilor Linville, has a virtual town hall next Tuesday at 7 p.m.
Great.
Maybe we can see you.
Yes.
Wonderful.
All
Thanks.
right.
Thank you, Brian.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Aaron and
Thank you.
Brian.